Okay, so we just created this data table. And so to do so, we created one larger table that was one column with two rows. This top cell included another table, which was actually our data table with random variable names, as well as two rows which gave examples of these random variables. And then down below, we have a caption, which just very succinctly describes what this table is. Now what we want to do is just offer a little bit of an explanation of these random variables. So what we've got here down below, immediately following the table, is that description. So something you would say would be table A, okay, which is what we decided to call it, includes the random variables contained in the data file in this project. The data file contained qualitative and quantitative variables. So qualitative variables were name, park, and track. So name, park, and track. It had discrete quantitative variables, such as speed, height, drop, length, duration, and inversion. So we've got speed, height, drop, length, duration, and inversion. Actually, I just caught this. Inversions isn't a measurement. This is more of a label. So that's actually going to be a qualitative variable. So let me take this and I'll drag it and put it up here. So even though it's a number that's being used as a label. So that should go here under qualitative variables. Okay, these other ones you can see are measurements: miles per hour, feet, and seconds. Okay, so now what we've got is a list now of our random variables, and I'm going to underline that, and then followed by a description. Oops, undo that. Now remember, under view, I have show non-printing characters turned on. So you see these blue arrows. Those blue arrows are tabs. So if I hit a tab, it shows that tab as an arrow, a right-facing arrow. So you can use tabs to, very easily kind of align text. It's really probably the cheapest, easiest way to do it. And so I've got my random variables here on the left with the description of that random variable on the right. So one of the random variables is name, and the description is that's the name of the roller coaster. And then we've got the random variable park, which is the name of the theme park hosting the roller coaster. Track. And so track is the material most of the roller coaster was made of, either steel or wood. Speed is the maximum speed of the roller coaster passenger car in miles per hour. Height is the maximum vertical height of the roller coaster determined by the difference between, got extra those, between the lowest and highest elevations, and that's in feet. And I've got drop. So what exactly does drop mean? It is the maximum vertical height of a single unbroken descent of the passenger car in feet. Length. Okay, so I just have to remove one of these tabs. The total distance the passenger car travels between the point where passengers, oops. Okay, fix this. point where passengers enter and exit the car. And then on to the next page, duration. That is the time recorded between the point where the passengers enter and exit the car, and that's in seconds. And then inversions is whether an inversion of the passenger car took place. So a 0 meaning false, an inversion did not take place, and 1 meaning true, an inversion of the passenger car did take place. And so, this is a description of this data table, and it makes sense to put that description directly below the data table. So you want to make sure that when we're referring to this table, we've labeled it table A, that we refer to it as table A throughout the rest of the report. And what we'll do later is we'll do like a find and a replace, and we'll change it from table A, table B, table C to table 1, table 2, and table 3. But we'll kind of describe that later. And this kind of brings another important point in that we don't really know what an inversion is yet. And so what is an inversion? So this is actually something that would be really good to put in definitions. So let's put a definition of what inversion is. So I'm going to click on the left-hand side here of definitions. And here in definitions, let's add a subheading. So heading 2, and we'll call this an inversion. Okay, and you'll see, since we gave this a heading 2, that's a subheading of the definitions. So we see it here. And so what is an inversion? So I looked this up. And so an inversion is an element of a roller coaster design whereby the orientation of the passenger car starts in the right side up orientation, transitions to the upside down orientation, and finally proceeds to return to the right side up orientation. Examples of inversion elements are the loop-to-loop or loop-the-loop, and corkscrew. Some little spelling error right here, so let's fix that. Right side up. All right, so we've kind of given a definition of inversion, and to kind of make this a teachable moment, let's add pictures of loop-to-loop and corkscrew. So we're going to be adding 2 pictures, and we want captions below each picture. And I'm going to put 2 pictures of roller coasters side by side. So to do that, we are going to insert a table that's going to be 2 columns wide because we want 2 pictures side by side. And then we're going to have 2 rows because we're going to have captions below each picture. All right. And so in this cell, we will insert an image and upload from computer. So I download a license-free picture of a loop-to-loop in a roller coaster. So, and I save that to my downloads directory. So I'm going to double click that. And then in this cell, I'm going to insert an image and upload from the computer. And that is a corkscrew. And so I'm going to call this figure A, example of a loop, the loop inversion element in a roller coaster. And over here, I'm going to call this figure B, example of a corkscrew inversion element in a roller coaster. Okay. All right. And later on, we can get rid of this border, around this table, which is 2 columns wide and 2 rows deep or high. We have examples of inversion elements are loop-to-loop. So what we can do is put parentheses figure A, so down below, and corkscrew, we can put figure B. And again, later on, when we're all done, we can label these like figure 1, figure 2, figure 3, and figure 4. And we'll label them 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the order that they appear. And when we do kind of like a find and replace, we'll just do a find for figure A, and we'll replace every occurrence of figure A with figure 1. And we'll kind of do it in bulk at the very end. But this is a really good, quick example of taking something like in the results that you've added, give a description of it down below. And if there's any term or anything, any concept that was used that isn't self-explanatory, like the word inversion, then we can go to the definitions section to kind of explain what an inversion is. Because you might be an expert in roller coasters, but other people wouldn't, and they would need to know what inversion is. So they would just go to the definitions section and go, oh, this is what an inversion is, and include a couple of pictures, and there you go. All right, so I think that's a good point to stop this video.